Bessie Coleman Foundation membership and what it means to me. I'm going to bring up Ms. Thelma Rudd. She's going to talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to...
Good morning, and I thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. I know it's a sacrifice for everyone. And so one of the questions that we were going to ask the ladies, and Ruby needs to leave because she has to get to therapy. And so the question that we were going to have, that we're asking each of our ladies that we are honoring here today, is making sure that we keep Bessie Coleman on the front. It's all about Queen Bess here. And so the question here that we're asking them, and that Ms. Horton will answer so she can move on, is that reflecting on the legacy of Bessie Coleman, her accomplishments and successes in the early 1920s, what aspect of Bessie Coleman do you most relate to? And I'll let Ms. Commissioner Horton answer that.
Well, first of all, good morning. Okay, well, bizarre. But at any rate, I want to thank Ms. Roy. I'm sure she had a whole lot to do. I want to thank all of the wonderful people, and my family really makes it possible for me to be here. One of the gentlemen from the airport came over and asked me, my sister gives me a hard time on the slave drive. I said, well, she tried to rehab, but I wouldn't let her handle it because it's hard to handle Ms. Ruth. But at any rate, I guess probably if I could say something in connection with this wonderful lady, Bessie Coleman, I would say, you know, it seems like this woman was determined at a very early age. And if I were to compare myself, and I was determined at an early age too. And I feel early age still a determined woman. I can remember, if I just want to relate this, at my rehab, my first session was with a pretty tough woman who decided, I guess she was going to be a therapist, and she was going to really be tough. And I guess maybe some people just want to believe that they could just get the best out of anybody, but it's the way you handle folk. So I guess in a way she kind of met up with a woman who said, no, we're going to do this a little different. I'm going to work hard, but it's going to be when I want to work and how I want to work. And I'm going to get there. I'll get there before you even think I'll get there, but it's going to be on my terms. I think Bessie Coleman was, I'm going to get there, but it's going to be on my terms. She was a determined woman, and I'm so sorry that we were not able to hear the script and the video about this wonderful woman who, at the age very early on, decided she was going to be an aviator. And what a story, because she came from humble beginnings, and yet none of those kept her from reaching where she wanted to be and where she ended up being. And as you heard, she not only was an African-American pilot, perhaps the first, but she was the first person to get her license, an international from America, an international pilot's license. What a wonderful, wonderful legacy that she has left for all of us, even people who are senior, above 50, okay? And this is a legacy for anyone, and it's determination and perseverance. Though it's hard, you have to persevere. And believe it, every day we do persevere. And I know pay. So for your pay, for occupying this space, we all have to pay a debt, and that's a debt to society. Make a difference. That's what I choose to do. That's what I will continue doing. Thank you. I love all of you. I appreciate y'all.
Today and tomorrow. Now yesterday, y'all don't know who I knew. Did y'all know I was friends with Bojangles and Josephine Baker? I was the one that helped Josephine get a pilot license. Josephine Baker and Bojangles. They were my friends. How about that? And y'all thought I wasn't coming. Let me tell you about another one of my friends, Anthony Faulkner. You know what he did? He designed Mr. Anthony Paul was somebody else that I knew in yesterday. You know what else they called him now? The Flying Dutchman. Yeah, y'all sure looking like, do y'all know I heard about these events and I wore my flying beautiful scarf for y'all. I attended the second Pan-African conference with him. He was a man that made changes. He was instrumental in me being a pilot and getting my license. Because he fought for the right of all people, and especially women. W.E. Du Bois. Who else do you think I knew? Honey, during those days, there were people that came, friends and strangers, helping me all along the way. William Glenn Curtis. Now, he was a manufacturer of planes. And guess what he did for me? He gave me my first aircraft. Mr. Curtis. Ma Ferguson was the first female governor of Texas. I like to hang around first females. She brought dignitaries. She brought people to meet me. She brought people to help me. Ma Ferguson was somebody that Bessie Coleman knew. How about that? Who else do you think I knew? William Willis. Shh. Now this was one of them secrets. You know, William helped finance. He bought me planes. Now what you think they said about it? I'm not gonna do this, y'all. I ain't gonna start no mess. I don't start no mess. Now you have to figure out was it true or not. But he helped me by planes. He helped me do a lot of things as the first female woman. Mr. William Willis. He also went in his debt with me. Now, what can you say? Secret. But to his dying death, we went together. And he helped me so much. I appreciate him. And most of all, another female first, Ida B. Wells. Now y'all know she did all kinds of things for women, children, men, but she was also our first. Ida B. Wells. You know, when times were getting hard, Ida sent me letters all the time of encouragement, of empowerment. She was my fly, sister fly. Ida B. Wells. Now, I wasn't there, but they said she did a wonderful job emceeing my funeral. Now you know Bessie, the brave one. I was probably already with my wings doing loops and flips in that other place. But I'm here to tell you today, that was yesterday. A little girl from the cotton fields had a dream. Dare to dream, dare to be more, dare to live your greatness and be who you came here to be. That's who Bessie was. A lot of people told Bessie, you can't. Bessie didn't even know how to say can't. Bessie said, who said that? I'll see y'all later. Because I got to fly. That's what Bessie said. And today, all these young people here, fly sisters fly. Fly sisters fly. Fly. Whether you fly, you work on it, build them, be in it. Get in where you fit in, what you like. And tomorrow, be as the brave Bessie, a legacy. 15 years. Yeah, y'all, I had to fly her down today and let you know. Bessie got the wings and she see you all the time. So keep the legacy, make your own, and be the great things that you are.
I want to know how she could see where she was going with those fogged-up goggles. Because I know I can't see with my own sunglasses fogged up. So that was impressive. Another hand for her. Next, what we'd like to do is we'd like to introduce you and kind of orientate you to a new aspect of the Bessie Coleman Foundation. This year they had their first annual Bessie Coleman Foundation Leadership Academy. So after Ms. Red comes up to tell you a few things about it, we're going to have Jaleesa Pete come up to orientate about that. Ms. Red?
Tomorrow, be as the brave Bessie, a legacy. 15 years. Yeah, y'all, I had to fly her down today and let you know Bessie got the wings and she see you all the time. So keep the legacy, make your own, and be the great things that you are.
And here they are, right here. And so this particular mural right here will be given to the Ida B. Wells Museum in Holly Springs, Mississippi. So I encourage each and every one of you to do that. So quickly, on June 15th and 16th, the 15th being the anniversary of when Bessie Coleman received her pilot's license here in Memphis, we initiated our first Bessie Coleman Aerospace Leadership Academy. And we have several of the young ladies, if you will stand, those ladies that participated in the academy. We talked here with these young ladies not only about aviation and aerospace, we spoke with them about goal setting, communication, conflict resolution, finances, and again, this was our first time doing this. And so we have one of the young women that participated with Jaleesa Pete is going to speak to you about her experience and what she thought about the Leadership Academy.
The Bessie Coleman Leadership Academy helped me become more knowledgeable about our historical and present aviators, develop more leadership skills that I use in my everyday life, and how to use my talents in a positive way and to influence society. Individually, all of us were challenged when we walked into the room. We knew nothing about each other. We were complete strangers. But eventually, we broke the ice and introduced each other and began networking. We heard passionate stories about Bessie Coleman and how she made it possible for us as African American women to sit down and come together to learn about her on June 15, 2010. We also were introduced to First Officer Stephanie Grant of ASA Airlines, Air Traffic Controller Peepsy James of Memphis ZME Center, and FAA's Technical Operations Manager Monica Hoyer, and many more. We toured several aviation affiliated facilities such as the Memphis Air Traffic Control Tower, our en route center, Tennessee Technical Institute, where they did propulsion and maintenance classes. We also were able to go into the hangar of the Air National Guards here in Memphis. As we toured the center and the tower, I fell deeper in love with what I have a passion in doing, which is air traffic control. But however, I am considering after I graduate from MTSU to get my airframe and power plant license. Like Ms. Thelma said, we were also able to get lessons and do workshops on communication, finances, goal settings, and we also had a very, very lovely statement and motivating speech from our sponsor, Ms. Sandra Walls. She talked to us about leadership and never giving up, because she was also told no many a times, and she was the first at many things, and now she has $1 million contract doing what she loves.
I'd like to bring up Mr. Thomas Johnson to introduce your keynote speaker for today.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I've been given the honor here this morning of introducing Ms. Tiles, and I'm going to speak a little bit about her background, and what this means to me reading her bio. Before we get started, I need to clean up a little bit. This morning I was introduced as Dr. Johnson. That's about 20 months away, but following the Enron Goldman Sachs thing, I don't want to oversell my stock. That would be a bad thing. There are 4 words that came to mind when I read her bio. The first was dream. The second was courage. The third was persistence. And the fourth, and perhaps most important, was excellence. Can you say those for me? Dream, courage, persistence, and excellence. From the dusty roads of South Carolina, Spartansburg particularly, a young lady came up and decided she wanted to do something. She had the boldness to dream. She became enamored with aviation, starting off in 1972 as a flight attendant. Once you get bit by the aviation bug, it's a hard thing to shake. 1979, she went on and got a pilot's license, went to school, and in 1982, I believe it was 1982, she earned her ATP. Those accomplishments, in lieu of her challenges, were impressive. But what was more impressive about that is that this is not an African-American story. This is very much a story that's enveloped in the American story. And to the young people here, which is the purpose of this event, when we look around, the only difference between those who have succeeded and those who have not is the decisions that you make. So again, your boldness to dream, the courage to pursue those dreams, the persistence to stick with it, and commit yourself to nothing but excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a glaring example of those things in Ms. Shirley Tyus Suber.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd like to thank CJ for that generous introduction. And though Mayor Wharton has left, I'd like to commend him and thank him for his commitment to our youth through the Office of Youth Services and Community Affairs. I wish to encourage the 560 youth that are serving in supportive roles to improve their neighborhoods. I'd also like to acknowledge the first president, or the current president of the Bessie Coleman Foundation, Mrs. Thelma Rudd. And the foundation's Yes I Can initiatives with their children, putting into action one of President Obama's famous aphorisms, yes, we can. 15 years ago, in 1995, Mrs. Rudd was instrumental in getting the Bessie Soars Through the Skies exhibit here in Memphis in the Aviation Historical Room. It was an honor for me to participate in the unveiling of that exhibit. Ms. Rudd spearheaded the idea, as I understand it, of the Bessie Coleman Aerospace Leadership Academy, and kudos to the 2010 graduating class of that academy. I commend them on the role that they're playing in keeping Bessie's dream alive as young aerospace leaders. Those young adults are standing on broad shoulders of models like Monsieur Eugene Bullard, born in Georgia but went to France to receive his flight training. Monsieur Bullard implemented the old African proverb, each one should teach one, as he mentored Bessie Coleman. As you well know, June 15, 1921, Mrs. Coleman received her international pilot's license, enabling her to fly anywhere in the world and becoming the first American to do so. 2 years later, 1923, well-known aviatrix Amelia Earhart received her pilot's license. During the late 30s, Chief Alfred C. Anderson, father of modern aviation, and owner of the Tuskegee Institute of Flying School, was instrumental in training the distinguished Tuskegee Airmen of World War II, and such name notables as Lieutenant General Benjamin O. Davis, General Daniel Chappie James. As a matter of fact, I have a keepsake photo hanging in my office of Chief Anderson and I taken in the late 80s when he was on his way. He made a brief stop at O'Hare on his way back from the Paris Air Show held at Le Bourget. And the few cherished moments that I had with Chief, I can recall him saying with tears in his eyes, "Shirley, now that United has hired your first black female pilot, the doors of aviation are finally starting to open, and I can rest easy now." So I say, continue to rest well, Chief, my friend and mentor. Unlike Chief's successful Tuskegee Flying Institute, Bessie never realized her goal to open a school for people of color and to introduce them to the fields of aviation technology. However, her dream lives on in such notable individuals as physician and astronaut Dr. Mae Jemison, U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Stacey Harris, U.S. Air Force Captain Christina Hopper, and Lieutenant Colonel Beverly Armstrong, Jill Brown, Captain Patrice Clark, and the list goes on and on. And the latest, the 16-year-old Barrington Irving, first black and youngest person to pilot an airplane around the world. It's just to name a few. Anyway, they relentlessly move forward, undaunted by the social ills of America in an effort to pursue Bessie's dream. Over 84 years after her death, and I salute each and every one of them. Of course, I'd be remiss in not mentioning institutions like OVAT, the Coalition, TAI Inc., Legacy's Black Aviation Hall of Fame, the 99s, WIA, Women of Color in Aviation and Aerospace, and Chiefs of NAI, Shades of Blue, and the list goes on. I've not even skimmed the surface of the organizations and hearts of individuals that have been inspired by Eugene and Bessie and carry the torch of the 21st century. I did not realize that 39 years ago, at the age of 21, when I began my career in aviation as a United Airlines flight attendant, that God would touch me with Bessie's spirit. I can recall spending time on the flight deck, asking the guys about the mechanics of flying and becoming more and more intrigued with the idea of piloting my own airplane. I set it as a 5-year goal. So 11 arduous years later and 2 additional children later, my dream finally came to fruition. It was during that 11-year period that the Navy began to train female pilots in 1974, followed by the U.S. Air Force in 1976. I was actually moved by Captain Emily Warner when I saw her on the front page of Parade magazine in 1976, and Captain Warner was the first female to fly for a scheduled airline. I enthusiastically began my flight training 1 month before my 27th birthday in 1977. I was considered to be a late bloomer because most pilots have an avid interest in aviation at 15 or 16, just as young Barrington had. And anyway, my first solo flight, I can recall August 2nd, 1977. It's under the tutelage of First Lieutenant Belta Ben. Belta is a WASP, or Women Air Force Service pilot, and flew trainers in World War II. She was quite a lady and still doing consulting work for the NTSB and giving biennial flight reviews. Anyway, Belta had just signed me off, and she got out of the airplane, and she said, "Okay, you take it around yourself." And it's like, I remember getting in the airplane and, wow, taxiing out to the end of the runway. It was like, meticulously checking, mentally checking to make sure that everything was okay. I mean, it's a far cry from South Carolina, It's like, Anyway, as I rolled down the runway, I was like, just hysterical, and I climb out, and then it's like, it hit me. It's like, I'm 1,000 feet above the earth. And it's like, so I regained my composure, my equanimity, and brought it around for a smooth landing. And the occasion was especially memorable because it was also my father's birthday. And I left the airport that day just feeling like there was nothing, absolutely nothing, that I could not accomplish. And it's that level of confidence that can be parlayed into excelling in whatever field, whatever your chosen field may be. Just be passionate about pursuing it. In August 1979, after attaining my commercial pilot's license, I had to prove to Captain Warren Wheeler that I could fly. Warren was Piedmont Airlines' first black pilot and set very high training standards for his pilots. And while training under him, he told me that I had to be 3 times as proficient as the best pilot out there, and Mr. Wheeler was a force to be reckoned with. Not only was he a kicker and a screamer, but he was a superb pilot. If you made it through his flight training, you were on top of your game. So during the 70s and 80s, Wheeler Airlines was a stepping stone to the major airlines for quite a few black pilots. The gang Warren Wheeler was keeping it real, and each one should teach one. As a matter of fact, I spoke with him recently, and he's doing well operating a charter operation in the Caribbean, and he can be reached at carwings@yahoo.com if you're interested in touching base with him. And I gained a wealth of experience flying cargo and passenger for Wheeler Airlines, flying the airplane, computing the weight and balance. I was just sharing with Leon how, then you would as a co-pilot for Wheeler, with the majors, there's someone out there directing you, when to start the engine and, pointing the airplane in which way to go, take off runway. And I was taxi director. I'd throw down my wands, jump in the airplane, fly the airplane, and it was a wealth of experience, and I'm truly grateful for Mr. and Mrs. Wheeler, because it was the experience that I needed to attain my goal to become a United Airlines pilot. October 1987, 1 year after Attorney Hayden testified before the U.S. Congress on airline hiring practices, I applied for the 3rd time with my airline transport rating and 2,000 hours of flight time. Of course, the minimum at the time was 350 hours. But Warren said I had to be 3 times as proficient, right? Anyway, I received my congratulatory letter that I met the preliminary criteria for acceptance into United's Flight Academy in Denver, Colorado. My 3rd child was 10 weeks old when I got the notice, and the training was very intense. It's like making the transition from singing lullabies and breastfeeding my newborn to, the sophisticated systems on an airliner. It entailed more than the proverbial blood, sweat, and tears. Anyway, I went through my jet flight training with newly hired Pan Am captains that had over 20 years experience flying jets. So everything was pretty fast-paced, but I began my training and practically lived at the training center. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Anyway, I successfully completed my flight training on November 1987. 7 years later, I upgraded to first officer on the Boeing 737 in 1994. Flew the Guppy for almost a year. No incidents, no accidents, just a poor political climate. Anyway, I was relegated to my previous position as a flight engineer or second officer and placed on a 3-year freeze. On May 29th, 1998, I successfully completed my upgrade training as first officer on the Boeing 727. 18 months later, January 2001, I transitioned to the Boeing 777 and joined the 2% Club. Flying the 777 was electrifying from the time that Dulles Tower cleared me into position for takeoff, like 9:14 for Paris. I pushed the throttles up, 12 o'clock, I remember, and just feeling the airplane tremble and the ground just, shudder, beneath me. And, rolling down the runway, it's like fingertip control, to lift 600,000 pounds off the runway and positive climb, gear up, and I know it wasn't those 4,000 series Pratt & Whitney engines that was doing it, was the Lord, and I just, it was just an indescribable feeling, that was the ultimate confidence booster. I suspect that Bessie felt that same rush 85 years ago, and her Jenny landing at Charles de Gaulle, Paris, was even sweeter. And I can say, thank you, Lord. During the last 3 years of my career as a senior first officer on the 777, I basked in my seniority. I opted to fly Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, generally fly 9:14 Flew 914 to Paris twice a month and 803 to Tokyo once a month, 9 days of flying. My next goal was to take a left seat bid, but God had other plans for me. On August 3rd, 2007, 2 days after I had flown my 777 in from Schiphol, Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, I was involved in a near-fatal accident while lawfully riding my bicycle in southern Europe. I received severe, painful, and permanent injuries, trauma to my head, body, limbs, as well as protracted shock to my nervous system. God, on that day, sent one of his many angels concerning me as I lay lifeless in a ditch on the side of Perrin Road. After 12 surgeries and several hundred sessions of aggressive rehab, my doctors recently informed me that because of the severity of my injuries, I will not be returning to work as an airline pilot. But you know, the good news is, the accident, as horrific as it was, did not diminish my smile, my passion for flying. It increased my walk with God. I have so much to be thankful for. A loving father that promised to never leave me or forsake me. A loving husband, 3 very loving children, a grandson, and I continuously thank him for allowing me to walk in Bessie's footsteps and soar with the eagles and rest in his bosom. Things happen in life that you have no control over. God controls all things, but he's not the controller of all things. And I am encouraged because God showed me his favor when he opened the door for me to become a pilot for what was, at the time, the biggest airline in the free world, and to fly the state-of-the-art Boeing 777 into and out of one of the busiest airports the world. That was with Bessie inspiring me and his spirit guiding me. And I thank God for giving me this opportunity to encourage you. I thank each and every one of you for the part that you're playing in keeping Bessie's spirit alive and for being the wind beneath our wings. In closing, I want to remind you that it's on Monsieur Bullard's, Amelia's, Chief Anderson's shoulders that we stand. I justify we because each and every one of you have the spirit of Bessie, Monsieur Bullard, Amelia, and Chief Anderson inside of you. And that spirit, and united with the Spirit of God, is how you define true success. So may God continue to bless you and keep you. Now let's go fly.
Say that every day is a new day and that you learn something new every day. And very seldom are there things that truly move me. And my wife is sitting here and she can tell you that though I knew, not saying that I don't know Bessie Coleman and all her legacy, but my oldest daughter, who's 11, doesn't know Bessie Coleman, but she's been flying since she was 8. And she'll be our 3rd generation aviator for our family. And she doesn't even know the path that she's building. I can also say, as we're sitting here honoring these ladies today, 2 of these ladies play a huge factor in my daughter's life, just as much as my wife and my family does. One of the first things we always decided from the moment we had our first child, we have 3 daughters, we decided we would always surround them with women that exemplified all the things that we taught them that they could achieve in life. And I'm just blessed because Miss Tanika Johnson and Miss Dawn Cook and quite a few other people that are factors in my children's life. They call for them every day. They come to visit them when they're in town. What you see in Tanika's bio is that she's an author of a book, a published author, Nikki the Airline Pilot. And one of the things I can tell you is that when Tanika comes home from Africa, she's gone, is it 2 months on, 1 month off? When she comes home, one of the first things she always does is makes it a point to call my wife and ask her when she can come spend time with my girls. And I never get the opportunity to tell her as much as my wife or Dawn how much that little gesture, how much of a difference it makes in the lives of my children. Thank you. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring up Tahira Brown, and she's going to take a few moments to ask the questions about the Bessie Coleman Foundation and what it means with Sisters of Distinction. And I'm going to ask a single question and give each one of these ladies the opportunity to share their reflections with you. So ladies, as I share it, just like Alex Trebek for 200. Basically, what I've been asked to present to each of you is, as you reflect on Bessie Coleman's legacy, her success, and her accomplishments in the early 1920s, and everything in the environment surrounding it, what aspect of Bessie Coleman's drive, ambitions, and revelations do you most relate to? And we can start down at that end of the table.
Hi, I'm Shirley Rich, the librarian at AU Middle School. And I think that the aspect of Bessie Coleman's life that I can most relate to is Bessie Coleman, although she was an aviator and the first American to receive her international license, she used the traditional job as a beautician to fund her love and do what she wanted to do. I have a traditional job as a school librarian, and I am using that to work with young ladies and show them that there are other opportunities and options out there besides the traditional jobs and traditional things to do. So that's showing them that they should have an opportunity or whatever and be able to step outside the box and try something new.
Frontline manager at Atlanta Center, and also the Southern Region president of the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees. And a lot of the things that we do as an organization, or the part that inspires me from Wayne West is her work with the youth. I do a lot with that. I do a lot of things to raise money. We have scholarship balls and everything. And I just remember when we did our first ACE camp in Atlanta, and we had like about 12 kids in the camp, and when they came back from flying, the joy on their faces, just seeing, knowing they had been out, because they, on Friday, they actually get a chance to fly a plane, and they had pilots up with them, but while they're up, they stopped flying and let the kids fly. And so my daughter was up there, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna fly the plane, don't turn loose, and so he said, okay. Just gonna go like this, and she looked, and so she grabbed the wheel, and it was the excitement in her face when they came down. And seeing that, I said, okay, we gotta do something so we can have more children experience this, to have the joy of flying, and to see that they can do things that's out of the ordinary. Because a lot of them never saw a person of color, flying, or knowing that they can make a salary that was large, just make a difference in their lives. So we raise a lot of money for them to attend the ACE Academy and for them to go to school, we provide scholarships. As a matter of fact, we give out, the region alone has given out over $12,000 in scholarships this year. So that's what the inspiration of Queen West is to me.
My name is Tanika Johnson, and when I think about Bessie Coleman, I think about the things that she had to endure and go through during her flight training and just becoming successful at being a pilot internationally as well. And sometimes I wonder about those things while I'm sitting in my aircraft. This was a legacy that possibly could not have happened, and without the technology and the flight training aid, she still was able to make it happen, even though she endured a lot of challenges along the way. She was encouraged by many people, just like many of the people in this room. We are motivated by her, as well as other enthusiasts, and whatever your profession is, we are all motivated. And I think that she was a person that was of good character, integrity, honesty, and she's an example that many people can look up to. I know that for me, flying overseas, when I took my first position, I went to India and I didn't know the language. And through college and high school, I took various foreign courses, but it wasn't enough to prepare me for what I was about to embark upon. And I'm just guessing that Rosetta Stone was not around at that time. So she took the challenge of going to France, earning her pilot license, and didn't know the language, and she was very brave for doing that. And so for me, being motivated by her and being inspired by so many other women that have come before me, She, as well as the other women, have enabled me to be in the flight deck where I am today. And I think that's important, that we don't forget the legacy, that we continue to make a difference in the world, not just in the U.S., but continue to make a difference amongst young girls especially, and encourage them in aviation.
The support manager for training at Memphis Center. And I first like to take this opportunity to thank somebody that's very special to me, Thelma Rudd, because 20 years ago when I first met her, had it not been for her, I would have still been thanking Ronald Reagan for my job for firing the controllers in 1981. Well, when in reality, it was her being able to expose me to actually the aviation African-American pioneers who actually opened the door and gave us the opportunity to be in the positions that we are in today. So I do want to take that opportunity to thank Thelma, because she is definitely a motivator and someone that has a lot of passion and drive in making sure that we know the history of the people who actually paved the way for us. So as I relate my story to Bessie Coleman, I take the position of being the first African-American female to hold the support specialist job at a second level support specialist job at Memphis Center, not necessarily in the FAA, but actually in the facility that I work in right now. With her being the first, I'm sure that wasn't her accomplishment as she set out to achieve her dream. She just wanted to fly. But in the midst of that, she ended up making history by being not only the first African-American female to hold a international pilot license, but also the first American and the first person of color to even do that. So I just want to say that is actually something that you may not intend to do, but you look upon it as another accomplishment and a blessing that you did become the first and actually make it easier for the people that are coming behind you.
My name is Pat Thompson. I'm the aviation coordinator at Tennessee Technology Center. I most relate with Bessie's desire. Each article I read about her talked about the desire she had. Growing up poor in Mississippi, we didn't have very much, but when I went off to college, there was this lady in my church. Her name was Janie Beauclair. And I took some clothes to her to be mended. And when I went to pick them up, I asked her, "What do I owe you?" She says, "Nothing, just do good." When I got my clothes home, there was money in the pockets. But when I went to church Sunday, I said something to her about it. She says, "Just do good." So Miss Beauclair and I formed a very strong relationship. I always visit her when I came home from college, and she would always tell me, "Just do good." So I had that strong desire just to make a difference in someone else's life the way she did me. And the best part of my job is when our graduates come back to us and tell us how successful they are and what a difference we made in their lives.
My name is Dawn Wanzer, and I'm an airline pilot with Delta Airlines. I fly 737 out of New York, and I'm able to do my job. I'm able to sit in my seat, and I'm able to go to work and love what I do because of all those that came before me, because of Shirley Tice, because of Patrice Clark, because of Bessie Coleman. And due to her and reading her story, the way that I relate is honestly her fire. When people told her no, she moved on, and that fueled her fire. And there were plenty of people in my career that told me no, that I should be a teacher, or that someone told me I should be a mom. I was like, well, I'm not that tall, and I'm not interested, so I'd rather fly an airplane. So it fueled my fire in every way, shape, and form when someone told me no. I think it's amazing that she can think outside the box. When the United States wouldn't help her with her pilot's license, she went elsewhere. So I think regardless of what you do, where you go, if you have that passion, it's amazing what you can do when that you don't know that you can't. And you should take that with you wherever you go. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Ross, and I'm very proud to work for FedEx Express. I've had a long career with the company, and I can tell you that it also represents the same thing that I really love about Bessie Coleman. Bessie Coleman was a dreamer. And dreams are what the future is made of. Bessie had the capability to dream in full Technicolor with high definition digital quality before it was even invented. And it was also in a time when most people dreamed in black and white. Now, I have to give you just a little tidbit of trivia. How many of you guys can remember your dreams in color? Most of us, there are a few. But researchers now know that most people remember their dreams in black and white. And they hypothesize that the reason we do that is because we have poor memory recall, which I know as I get older, I certainly do. But we have poor memory recall, and therefore we can only remember our dreams in shades of gray. Bessie never remembered her dreams in shades of gray. She never had poor memory recall. She was the type of woman who was full of color and light, and she also looked for the possibilities. Many people said that she was opportunistic, but I really think that she had the ability to seize and create her own possibilities. I wanted to share with you just briefly this morning because this concept of the dream and what it does for you and the ability to dream in color is something that I try to live my life by. I believe that if you don't have a dream and if you aren't able to fulfill that dream, then the great things that are within us will never come forward. Queen Bess's spirit is captured in the words from a song, and I'm going to read you some of those words. It's called Dream in Color. When I open my eyes to find inspiration, I search for the best I can see. If I settle for less, I won't be the best I can be. Life is short, it can't be bought, and time is a very precious thing. I want to go where I've never been and see what's never been seen. In the midst of the morning, I won't take for granted there will always be another new day. Got to live for each moment and never let time slip away. If I was unaware, if I didn't care about people and places and things, how could I live a life full and satisfied, not knowing how to dream? When I dream in color. There is so much that I want to discover. I'll give you so many good reasons to capture a dream. Bessie Coleman captured the power of a dream. And that power is born within us and it fuels every achievement. Lieutenant William J. Powell wrote in Black Wings, because of Bessie Coleman, we have overcome that which was worse than racial barriers. We have overcome the barriers within ourselves and dared to dream. Bessie dreamed with an artist's palette, had perfect color recall, and also created a vivid living portrait of what's possible. She really demonstrated what all of our hopes, dreams, and aspirations are really made of. So I would like to say that I'm going to commit to continue to live my life and dream in color. And I would also like to ask that we all commit to do that. If we dream in color and then we go about making those dreams real, then that's how we will really achieve, and frankly, that's how we will also pay homage to the great legacy of Bessie Coleman. Thank you.
Good morning. My remarks are really going to be brief, but I gotta ask you, is there any wonder why we say breakfast is the most important meal of the day? I mean, after being uplifted and inspired, what a way to start a week. And to your honorees, I tell you what, it's amazing, and particularly to Ms. Tyus. But on behalf of the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, I want to thank you and also welcome you to the conference. The ladies, Bessie Coleman Foundation, and the few guys that are out there working with them, can you help me in giving them a wonderful round of applause? Like I said earlier, this is just a fantastic way to start a conference, and you folks are in for a real treat. I have to go because I have a board meeting that's starting in about 2 minutes, but I had to come and say thank you again, and ladies, it's been fantastic. Thank you for the ride.
Ms. Hannah Dixon is going to come up and make one last statement.
Thank you. Now, with another hat, I'm Bessie Coleman's online store, and I want to take this opportunity to invite you all. We have t-shirts here, Bessie Coleman pins, right over at the table. So come and visit us. Thank you.
Close out our program today. I'd like to bring up once again the new incoming president of the Bessie Coleman Foundation, Ms. Thelma Rudd. Give her a hand, please. And her little sidekick partner.
you know, we've come to the end of the program. It seems like it's been a long time to me because we've tried to do so much. I don't think there's ever enough time in life, in my opinion, to really honor someone like they should. I mean, we could have had a conversation, I think, a day with each one of these ladies. And I think we're really remiss in not allowing you see these women here, you see our young ladies. I want my ladies from the Aerospace Leadership Academy to stand. You see these women here. So after the program, I'm please encouraging you to please go and talk to these young women, talk further to our Sisters of Distinction, and because this is what it's about. Really, I think this is what Bessie Coleman's whole thing was about, and I agree with you, the whole thing of living in color. And I think you saw from what Bessie Coleman lived past this racial divide. She wasn't thinking about any of that, and that's how it has to be. That's how life is, really. If we're going to be successful, this color thing has, and I have found my thing with air traffic is an air traffic controller. And people that are in aviation, we love aviation anyway. It doesn't matter, you sit down there with somebody, it doesn't have to look different than you, all that doesn't matter. I think Bessie Coleman showed us that. So I do, you all can sit down. I think I want you to encourage, please encourage our young women. We expect great, great things from them. So I do want to acknowledge all of you for taking the time for coming. I want to acknowledge first my mother. I have I think 4 generations. My mother drove up here from Atlanta with family to stand. And my mother is also a member of the Bessie Coleman Foundation. My daughter Salika's the current treasurer, and I have my grandsons here. So Bessie Coleman in our family is a family affair for us. So I do want to acknowledge Federal Express. We really appreciate each and every one of you, Mary McDaniels and the whole group, for being here. I know you could be somewhere else, and we encourage you to please help us to push Bessie Coleman's story. Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority, I think most of them have gone. Memphis Bell's Women in Aviation's group, the Pat Thompson from the Tennessee Technology Center, a great, great place to go. I mean, those who are thinking about aviation, we took the girls over there to see the airplanes, and so I understand now that Jaleesa's thinking about perhaps doing her power frame, I guess it is, and so this is great. My Bessie Coleman Foundation members, directors, if you're not a member, our website is wearethelegacy.com, so please feel free to log in and join, look at what we're doing there. And again, I acknowledge the Black Flight Attendants of America are here. And again, each and every one of you, I know I'm probably remiss in missing someone. Please accept my apology, and it's been a long day. And I really thank each and every one of you. Wish you safe travel home, wherever it may be. I know many people travel from out of town to come, even if it's just across the street. I really appreciate you coming. And again, fly, sister, fly. And just remember Bessie Coleman in whatever you do. Thank you very much.
According to DOT standards, we have arrived on time and complete for the completion of our breakfast. I thank you for joining us this morning. I thank you for supporting us. And ladies, I thank you for all your accomplishments. We look forward to seeing you do more in the future. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Right hand don't rest. What else I got? That's $50 you need there. I need somebody. Really?
I don't know what it is. Tell me. What is it?
What? There was 75.
DC is the highest in the country.
I'm saying it's higher than most other.
We have come so far. We have seen so much, but there's so much more to do. So tonight, let us ask ourselves, if our children should live to see the next century, if my daughters should be so lucky to live, what change will they see? What progress will we have made? This is our chance to answer that call. This is our moment. This is our time. Doors are about to be